It doesn't feel like the wait between episode 1 and episode 2 was very long, but at least this time they didn't post it at 10 o'clock at night. This one's notably shorter. I'm interested. I'm interested because this one's probably going to take place in the present day, and it's probably going to have Omega and Rouge. And I'm the most interested in, like, present day canon. Like, I think retreading the past can be cool, but doing it too much isn't nearly as interesting as just moving forward and living in the now, haha. As I say that, we're back 50 years ago already. That's okay, though. There's some interesting stuff. There's a lot of lore, like the gun commander, that just hasn't been explored, even though we know about the significance of all of this. What's in the tube?
Shadow?
Oh, that's...
Right?
Maria.
That's Black Arm stuff. That's like the Doom Eye.
It's just...
I like how out of everything,
the professor created me using alien DNA.
the little guy was upset about Shadow and not Black Arms.
DNA is this larva,
So he just knew all the way back then?
ugly, heartless creature. I may look like a hedgehog, but I'm really no different than this thing.
I guess this part of his memory was completely wiped.
Express it, but I know that deep down you really do care. About me. About everyone.
He looks completely 2D animated. They didn't bother making a model for him. That's funny.
And you will one
Oh,
day.
that expression on him, the little eye shake. She basically built his entire moral compass. Yeah, here we are, dude! Eggman's pyramid base... Pyramid cave? Question mark? Is that what it was called? I don't remember exactly. We're gonna see the egg ponds! Yes! This is one of my most hyped parts. I don't even know why. I just love seeing the classic Eggman badniks, who are usually goofy as hell, actually looking menacing and cool. Oh my god, they're dodging it! They're dodging all of Omega's bullets because they're like samurai.
Didn't expect to see you here.
Okay, hi Rouge. It's really nice to see Rouge in an action setting again. You usually only see her doing this in the comics nowadays. Wow, she's animated great.
My backup. What's your story?
Wow, all of the egg pawns are super goofy as well. They kept the personality intact
I have
greatly.
reason to believe the Black Arms have returned.
Well, you're out of luck here. This is just a supply depot.
Yes! Yes, we got a super badnik from Heroes or Shadow the Hedgehog? I call dibs. Yo, Omega's voice is returning for the first time in like 18 years? I mean, I guess he was in Team Sonic Racing. Yo, the boost effects. Yo, dude, they're like taking out his legs like you are supposed to in Sonic Heroes when you're fighting these big egg pawns.
Now about this spacecraft.
I gotta talk about this for a second. In recent Sonic media, we've been seeing things take a return to form. We've been seeing things actually be depicted like action and anime and shonen, because in the 2010s it was just like honestly a Mickey Mouse really child-friendly cartoon. The most action you saw was Sonic jumping on something instead of throwing hands. So it's really cool to see like multiple characters back at it, like Rouge fighting with all her kicks, Shadow using the electricity from his boost and his Chaos Spear, and Omega like sliding all over the place and using his whole arsenal. You know, Sonic and Frontiers with all those crazy anime moves, Knuckles, Tails, Amy in that game as well. But the thing is, like, we don't have a lot of material officially of them being like this, again outside of the comics. For a while there, like Frontiers Prologue with Knuckles, you got more footage of them being like this again. It was against these alien enemies that we've never really seen before, and it doesn't really fit, I guess, kind of in line with like the main identity of Sonic. But now with this animation, like, we're seeing the egg pawns in these action scenarios. Because, you know, for the entirety of Frontiers, the only time the original Badnik showed up was in cyberspace, where they just get like one-tapped by the homing attack. But seeing them in this full action setting, it actually gives some oomph to Eggman's army. It makes them really menacing, even though like they were still easily defeated. But it's just the fact that it doesn't look like they're completely helpless and useless hunks of junk. Again, like, it's just so cool to see an action sequence on par with the Knuckles prologue, but with Eggman enemies and Eggman settings. Like, you have a super badnik, you have the giant LED Eggman face lights like you would have in Eggman Land, and Shadow's like sliding under like you would actually do in the Boost games. And like they utilize all three characters here so well. It doesn't feel like anyone's lagging behind. They're truly pulling their weight like an actual Sonic Heroes dynamic. But like, this shot is great. This just takes you back to the core of what Sonic is, you know? This is an SA2 location. You got a Super Batnik from the GameCube era. You got the Eggman LEDs. You got the destroyed moon in the back. And you got like seriously written voiced dialogue from the characters.
But in return, you're going to have to promise to come to Sonic's birthday party.
Oh, wow. Okay, so people were saying in my comment section, whoa, that pose, by the way, that's just straight out of a trailer. Holy crap, they really efficiently recreated that. I didn't do that on purpose. That was a completely accidental pause. What a frame. So people were saying in my comment section, like, oh no, it says present day. This is gonna take place post Frontiers, man. Because obviously, since Chaos Island is around, that means it's in the present day. But I always had this idea that Shadow Generations was going to take place all the way back in the timeline, back in Generations, you know? So like present day would have just been present day in the Generations game. And this pretty much confirms that. You know, Shadow had the yellow emerald in the last episode. People thought that like Shadow was gonna get sucked back in time and like fight Sonic and lose the emerald. I never liked the idea of this game continuing off of Frontiers and then coming back to Generations. I really much prefer the idea of the 2010s era Shadow being redeemed and recontextualized, and it's kind of like, oh, this is what we were missing out on. We didn't get to see that, but don't worry, he was still a badass the whole time, even though the little glimpses we did see of him were not that impressive. But you know, she talks about Sonic's birthday, you know, it makes sense. But obviously he didn't go to it.
Take that as a yes. Now then, interesting.
Ah, she's so expressive. I wonder what they're gonna do with these models after this.
Gun base?
Interested in raiding a gun base. That's interesting, because it's like, are they working for Gun at this point in time? Because this was before Forces, and it's been heavily implied by Ian Flynn and the Eggman Shadow the Hedgehog 101 video that he completely destroyed Gun during the events of Sonic Forces. So that's interesting, that they're going to be raiding a gun base. I'm guessing it's like a gun base from the past or something. Shadow's trying to find Black Doom by going to the Ark or something?
But I'm certain you will one day.
One day. That is an obvious foreshadow for the future here.
Then, you'll find even more people you can
You'll find even more people you can trust, and that's obviously laying into the team dynamic he has with Rouge and Omega, and maybe even Sonic. Who knows, right? They're very adamant about saying he has no friends, but we all know that's a load of crap. Dude, he throws the sword back at him, and he just instantly explodes. Also, dude, Kirk's yells. Ooh. I'm so happy that she's fighting with her kicks and everything accurately. Dude, he caught that blade in his hand. Oh, that's so sick. She dodges it, he catches it in his hands. He's so extra.
Just gathering some intel for Gun.
See, like, the egg pawns are absolute morons, but they're still dangerous, the way they're swinging these blades around. It's so cool, too, because, like, these designs are from Sonic Colors, and we're in the Sonic Adventure location. Everything's connected. I'm guessing this is the Egg Breaker from Shadow the Hedgehog? It reminds me of an Egg Hammer from Sonic Heroes, but the color scheme looks like Egg Breaker. I really need to see them return Super Badniks in regular gameplay again. There's a lot of mini-bosses in Shadow Generations, so it's possible that they'll do that in future Sonic games. Yeah, and that's crazy too. The original episode got 1.1 million views. The marketing for this game is the strongest I think I've ever seen for a Sonic game. Like, just period, straight up. Way stronger than Frontiers. Frontiers had like 2 commercials, and I never saw any of them even air on TV. In the past, it was very common for Sonic games to have a promotional comic to precede the story. Like, Sonic Forces had a comic, Sonic Frontiers had a comic and an animation, Sonic Superstars had a comic and an animation, which all directly led into each other and preceded the story of the game. So it's crazy because, like, we've totally upgraded from like a 4-page comic to a 5-minute animation to 3 different animations with some of the best storyboarders in the biz. The writing in this is so fire. There is no way that the writing in the story itself for the actual game isn't as good or better than the literal promo. There's additional scenes for the anime in the PlayStation version of the game, which will be interesting to react to. On a surface level, this is weird, and it's like, oh, why are they locking anime behind a very specific version of the game? But it actually kind of makes me a little happy, not necessarily because of exclusivity, but because for a while now, it felt weird that they didn't include their promotional animations in the games themselves. Like, why wasn't Knuckles' prologue in Sonic Frontiers? There's probably tens of thousands of people that played that game and haven't watched the Knuckles animation, which not only gives context for why Knuckles is randomly there, which I don't think is actually explained in the game itself, but it also is just great characterization. It's gorgeous to watch. Basically single-handedly sold me on pre-ordering Sonic Frontiers, because I was actually on the fence about that game. And it's like Sonic Superstars, it really could have benefited from having the promotional comic book or the animation in it. Even just as an unlockable bonus, it would have been fun. Especially because the promotional animation for Superstars was better animated than the actual in-game cutscenes. Like, I don't care if it's just available from the get-go or if it's unlockable. These high-budget animations should be seen by as many people as possible, and they should be bundled in the game. It's the full experience, having those comics and those animations, so this gives me some hope that they're gonna put the anime in the game itself, because if they don't, that's just such a fumble to only have the extended cutscenes. Like, come on. But yeah, that being said, it's kind of crazy we're already in October. Like, the game is just gonna come out. I don't think it's no secret that I'm a fan of Ian Flynn's writing. I'm actually kind of shocked the degree of depth and, like, the things that he's allowed to pull from and explore in Shadow Generations. He wasn't necessarily restrained in Sonic Frontiers, but Sonic Frontiers was such a specific story that it had to be pretty self-contained. Yeah, there were references or whatever, but that was just kind of to tie things in rather than to explore something with purpose. A lot of the story moments in that game were just completely original lore, but I feel like when we're going off of pre-existing lore with Shadow's game, it's much easier to have a deep story with these characters and explore who they are and what they've done. I'm just really impressed with the lengths that they've gone with the trailers of the game itself, and especially the anime. These aren't like 20-minute episodes. I'm still impressed, but you know, I've been reading the Archie comics my whole life, and then I started reading IDW, and I'm still impressed because, like, I've read Shadowfall, I've read the pre-reboot Archie issues, you know, I've read the highlights of IDW, and I just still think it's crazy what they're doing with this anime and what's implied in the game itself. They're going to heights and touching on things that I don't even think they were allowed to do before. I'm really excited. The story is my number one most interested part of this game, which says a lot because the gameplay looks fire. Yeah.